Heavy rain, severe thunderstorms, damaging winds, abnormally high tides and large surf, all expected to impact much of western and southwestern WA this weekend. Now, while no severe weather warnings are current right now, we do expect them to be issued later tonight and in through Saturday for heavy rainfall and damaging winds. Firstly, our threat of heavy rainfall basically on the west and southwest coast between Lancel and the Margaret River area. That does include Perth and around the Bunbury and Busselton area, where heavy falls tonight and through Saturday could lead to possible flash flooding. As well, we could see totals up to around that 80mm mark for isolated areas. Our other threat will be damaging winds, not only for thunderstorms along the coast, but if and where a low does develop on the south coast, we could see widespread damaging winds developing across much of southwestern WA as we move into the Saturday night and Sunday time period. But this damaging wind area is highly dependent on exactly where and how strong a low pressure system develops to the south of WA Saturday night into Sunday. Now let's have a look at all this in a little more detail. So what's driving this? First, we have a trough system moving through this afternoon and tonight. That's going to cause showers and thunderstorms along our coastal strip and start producing moderate to heavy rainfall around the southwest capes. Then, as we move into Saturday morning, this front will pick up and strengthen this shower and thunderstorm activity into a big band of rain stretching from Carnarvon all the way down the west coast to the south coast of WA, with moderate to heavy falls likely, and we could see some severe thunderstorms with that as well. While ahead of it, strong and gusty winds will lead to warm temperatures and isolated thunderstorms there. Then, as we move through Saturday night and Sunday, that rain band will move through inland areas, and then the focus will be down the south and southwest coast, where we see a low pressure system develop here with very strong winds wrapping around the backside and widespread showers, isolated thunderstorms and patchy rain moving through the wheat belt and southern inland areas. Welcome news for those looking for rain, but by Monday afternoon, finally this system will have moved out with conditions calming down across the southwest. Now, just how much rainfall are we looking at? Well, here's just one scenario where we're seeing widespread falls along much of the west coast, generally in that 10 to 30mm mark from Kalbarri all the way down to Albany. But of most interest and concern are for those heavy falls between Lancel and the Margaret River area, where these orange and red and purple areas could see falls of 50, 80mm, maybe even isolated falls up to 100mm, particularly around the southwest. And this could lead to flash flooding and some impacts there. While for those looking for rain further inland, could see widespread 10 to 30mm for our inland areas. But a lot of this rainfall is dependent on exactly where that low does develop over the weekend and into early next week. Now, with all this weather, we're also expecting some pretty large seas and swell with this low. So as we move through Saturday night into Sunday morning, you can see a very large area of big waves starting to impact much of the west coast and then the southwest coast as we move into Sunday. Now, this large waves and abnormally high tides, this could lead to possible coastal erosion and inundation for any of those living right on any creeks, rivers or streams on the high tide along our coastal areas, particularly in the southwest. But also note, expecting very large swell all the way up to around the Exmouth area of 4 to 5 metres, and that's a little bit more unusual up there, so we could see some coastal impacts along much of the western and southwestern coast of WA. Now, with all this weather on the way, if you live in southwest WA or know someone that does, it is important to stay up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings via our website, app and social media. And as the weather ramps up Friday into Saturday, listen to all advice from emergency services.